Bill, you said to me a little while ago that you're a veteran. And from what I understand, that, as a veteran, you can get shelter and get an apartment.
Right.
So why are you not getting one?
Well, I was living in a motel, and I had a part-time job, but I lost my job, and I couldn't afford it anymore. And basically, what happened was a friend of mine next to my apartment told me that through the Salvation Army / VA, I can get VA housing.
Great. So they put you in they put you in an apartment.
They put me in an apartment, and which they did.
Great.
And we were waiting for my pension to come through as a veteran.
Uh-huh.
And then I could pay it on my own.
Correct. Wonderful.
And they pulled the program on me, and I got evicted from my apartment. I lost everything that the VA gave me: my TV, my couch, all my furniture, all my housewares, kitchenware, bathroomware. I lost everything, and I got tossed out, and I ended up living in the street for a while, and then.
So you were part of the program that we say we have functional zero with veterans, and you were able to get an apartment.
Right.
And then things fell through, and you ended up back on the street.
Right.
Wow. Do they know that you're on the street? Because they tell me that there's.
Basically they told me when I went in there, we're not going to help you no more. We can't wait for the check to come, for my pension to come through.
So this whole thing about the veterans are taken care of is...
Well, here's the funny thing about it. After they evicted me, 1 week later, I got a call from the VA. I'll just give you his first name. His name's Steve, up in Daytona here. And and he said to me, he goes, "Did you get your check?" And I says, "No, I got nothing." And I says, "What check?" And he says, "They sent you a check 2 weeks ago." Well, they evicted me, so I wasn't able to go on the property to check my mailbox, and the check got resent back to the VA. So you know what that took to get that to come back, and I would have had more than enough money to pay the time that was owed on the apartment, and been living there still, and nothing would have changed for me. I would have been self-sufficient.
Right.
And but it didn't happen because they pulled the program. They just I was sitting in the office.
So although it all sounds good, it didn't work out.
Yeah, it sounded really good, but they just didn't want to wait any longer. And I do have medical conditions, several of them, and they just the Salvation Army / VA, who was doing the program, just said, "We're not doing it for you anymore." They says, "Well, what you ought to do is, can you go pick up cans on the street, or can you go, things like that." I said, "I'm not going to go do that.
Right.
I'm not going to go do that." I says, "I don't deserve it."
So at least if we had a temporary place while you got your VA check, that would have helped you out.
I had the temporary place. I mean, I had the apartment, and it could have went permanent if the Salvation Army would have waited, because there's a process. There's a lot of us vets out there that are waiting for this process to go through. It's not like it just happens overnight. And it took January last year till I think it was October of last year when the check came. But I got evicted in the beginning of October. So 2 weeks later, the check was there, and they would have got their money.
So you were sheltered for several months.
Yes.
And yet it didn't work out.
Well, it didn't work out because it just took so long for the check to come to me. And I kept calling, and it sounded like a broken record on the phone. And I just got nowhere. And then finally, like I said, I was all set up in my apartment. I had, a nice people who lived in the apartments who were moving out. If they couldn't take their furniture with them, they asked me if I'd want it, that type of thing. And I was like, sure, but the place was beautiful. I kept it immaculate, but no one wanted to just wait. I mean, who knew 2 more weeks I was going to be getting this check?
Right.
But the check came, but I got evicted, so I never knew the check came.
So now, do you get a check now? Are you able to get it?
I get my check now.
So why can't you get into a place?
Because I only get a certain amount, and you need first and last month's rent. And
so at least if we had a place for you temporarily again,
right,
where you could get it together again and an address to get things,
yes,
it would help you out.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it never should have went as far as it did, but it was just a delay with the pension.
Right. So things happen.
Things just went. It's timing. I really think it was timing. Timing was right. They put me in an apartment. They were helping me right along, and they were going, "Did you hear anything? Did you hear anything?" I says, "No." I keep calling though.
Did you get case management while you were in the apartment to help you sort this stuff through, or?
Well, I had a lady who was. This is the other thing. I had a lady who was helping me. I won't mention her name.
Right.
In the beginning, and she says, "Don't worry, you're gonna be fine." But all of a sudden, she ended up leaving, and I got a new case handler.
Okay.
And she didn't know anything about me or my predicament, and she closed my case out. And she goes, "Well, you're not getting, we're not helping you anymore." And I says, "What do you mean you're not helping me anymore?" Because she was a new case. And she goes, "Well, we closed your book." I says, "Closed my book? I haven't started getting my checks yet." And so she extended it for another month or two, and then it was all. After that, the head guy came in of the case manager, and I won't mention his name either, but he came in and he says, "We're not helping you anymore. We can't wait for this check to come. We waited long enough." I says, "Well, I did everything I could. I can't make things happen. It's just the way it rolled out." And so I knew I was getting evicted, and I didn't know what to do. And I ended up
Back on the street.
yeah.
Okay.
And I lost everything. I mean, I lost everything I ever had left in my life. It went because I had nowhere to get it.
Right.
You know.
So it was kind of like too soon to have all that happen. It would have been better if they would have planned a little bit better and then got you in an apartment where everything was going to be.
Right. They rushed me into it, and in the beginning, and
Right, and you ended up worse off than you were before.
right. Oh, I'm very much worse off than I was before. I mean, I pretty much the clothes on my back and another duffel bag full of
Right.
clothes is all I got.
So sometimes rushing you into a place is not the answer.
No, it takes time. It takes time for the
Sure it
VA
does.
for the VA to get it together, but it also takes
Yeah, it would have been good if all those things had been lined up.
Right.
Then get you the
It
apartment.
wasn't lined up.
It wasn't lined up.
Like I said, it's timing.
Yes.
Everybody was just flim-flamming back and forth.
So you're thrown into an apartment, but there's no future there
Right.
because there's no guarantee of income. And it would have been better just to wait a little while, get everything lined up correctly, then
Right.
get you into an apartment so you wouldn't have to be going through this
Right.
all over again.
Right, because when I moved into when I got this apartment, I wasn't like I picked it because I liked the apartment. I picked it because I wanted to get off the street.
Sure.
I just want. I
Absolutely.
would take anything at the time. Give me a doghouse.
Absolutely.
But it just didn't work out that way, and it was bad management is how I would look at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but like I said, people, and I'm sure I'm not the only one this has happened to.
Well, you would know. There's probably others, right?
Oh yeah, there's others, and
There are the veterans who are back on the street.
back on the street, absolutely, because they're trying to get their benefits through, wherever they were, or what service they were in, and I happened to be in the Navy. I'm a Vietnam vet, and I just, was totally shocked on how it was being handled, and I was just like, you need to talk to this guy, and this guy needs to, me talking, I was like the go-between.
Right.
And they were just like, well, we're doing everything we can. And if the caseworker for the Salvation Army / VA talked to the VA handler of my case manager there, things would have went a lot smoother. But they were having me be the go-between. Well, you need to call him up and tell him this. Well, you need to call her back and tell her this. And it was just like, why can't you two just talk to each other and square it away? And
So a centralized place where you can get everything taken
right.
care of would have been a good
I didn't
idea.
mind doing it, but it was like I was, what do you call it? Not the middleman, but it's a secondhand
Right.
of it.
And bottom line is you end up back on the street.
Yep.
And today there's nowhere to go.
Nope.
All right. Thanks a lot. Thanks for sharing your story.
Okay.